All right. It is another episode of Write Once, Read Many. This time, we have Vic, as well as upbeat music.
Sorry, I'm trying to get my stream pulled up. We got Bonesaw here.
Self-sawed.
Yeah. She was like, this makes up for everything.
I think you may have been too quiet to hear over the music in that moment. It's still going crazy.
Still going. Is this the exciting part of the song?
Yeah, it just broke between the second and the first and second halves.
Very nice.
Okay. Well, the notification's out there. We'll just have to see how long it takes for Greg to bite. All right, song over. So, as a reminder to the audience, whoever that may be, that the audience participation question was 25.x. Have you ever read/watched anything with a redemption arc starting from such a low point as this? Whoa, it's Greg. And Greg is saying, whoa, it's celebrity YouTuber Plebeian Reads.
It is I, the new guest.
Yeah. It's actually the first time we've had Plebeian Reads on. It's crazy. All right. So, Bonesaw is still being drawn on the speed draw, and oh, it just finished. It was quicker than I expected. Boop. What say you on these themes that you wrote?
I wrote this one here. Intensive problem solving. I feel like the way that Riley goes about trying to solve issues at the start of the chapter is very it's almost like she's so aligned with her passenger and she's so aligned with her power that it takes the quickest shortcut possible and is like dismissive of everything else in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that does remind me of how other powers are portrayed when we get more insight into the way the power is thinking of things.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good way to describe some of the other people as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so Riley kind of starts out like that, where like she'll think of a problem such as oh, how do I make sure that these clones are properly affected by the emotions or like the memories I'm implanting in them? And then her quickest solution, which is like smashing something with a hammer, is, oh, well, I'll just have the memories play on loop and they only get a break from the memories when they do something violent.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very very ham-fisted.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, I just think that's funny. And then my other theme is the all caps, the monster inside of us.
Well, I saw that both themes were all caps.
Well, she's very intense.
Yeah, it's true.
But like I feel like there's the contrast between Riley as a monster and this guy Eli as a monster or whatever, and how they are both going about the world.
Yeah.
And like hopefully they both are people who can't heal or change some inherent thing about themselves, but they are choosing to do so. So
Yeah. I was thinking about Bonesaw and Bonesaw's general, like, the redemption arc happens, but in a way we never get the satisfying conclusion I want to Bonesaw's arc from earlier in the book. I guess I'll have to settle for that time when Defiant used the Nanothorn to destroy the lower half of her body.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. I'll put up with that.
Oh, and then the other theme is be good. So
Yeah,
like I don't know, this concept of goodness and badness that a very young and traumatized child has and then like
yeah.
takes it and runs with it. Um
And it's like focusing on all the most pointless aspects of big scare quotes being good. Like
yeah.
the most useless, frivolous ways you can be good and being bad in
Yeah.
every way that matters.
Yeah. Which is like, I don't know, it's just interesting. It's like the whatever Bonesaw's like association with being good um was like either it was like badly portrayed to her what that meant like when she was a little kid, or it was like warped when she had her trigger or something.
Yeah, there's also like hmm, I feel like there's aspects with Bonesaw where it kind of represents the kind of like fake niceness from like the South or the Midwest. Like,
Mhm.
I know that there's like certain versions of like those places where they're portrayed as like actually being very warm and genuine, but I've seen many portrayals of it being like they're all saying the nice thing, but they're all being fucking terrible the whole time, and they're like
Right, right, right.
like this monstrous version of like politeness and like goodness or whatever. So
Yeah, yeah. And also to her like clinging to Jack's approval in her like goodness or whatever. Um like she like allows him to define what's good and bad and then follow accordingly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Anyway.
I don't know, man. Bonesaw's a little freak. Let's
It's one of those
let's
things
talk
where,
about
like,
it.
I get that she's a little girl and that she has this bad backstory, and I get that a lot of work is done to fix her or whatever over the course of things. But moment to moment, I'm usually like, frag this little girl, frag her.
Yeah, so Bonesaw and Jack are hanging out, chit-chatting about the state of the world, before she pulls the lever and freezes him into cryogenic sleep, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she had created a pod for herself, but it's clear she's not actually planning on using it. She's like looks down at all the rows of the incubation chambers, and they're all labeled with the past members of the Slaughterhouse Nine. I feel like I think that we saw this before. It's just reiterated.
Yeah, because
um,
we saw a scene previously where Jack actually gets into it in the chapter reviewing Taylor's uh what you call it Taylor's like unmasking. Yeah,
mhm.
I'm pretty sure that was back then.
Her her outing.
Outing.
Um,
That just sounds like she might
yeah.
have gone out.
It was like a double outing because she like left the house to go to school.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Bonesauce, but she's like all like giggling and smiling at the thought of this great family reunion that she's
Hmm.
gonna have. And she starts making plans to implant memories into the Slaughterhouse Nine like fetuses to make them more like their old selves. And I have a quote here.
Yeah. Mannequin had lost his wife and children in a Seamerg attack. how to approach it. A file here with a woman who had lost her spouse and children in a car accident she'd driven. Close enough. She could leave gaps and it would fill in all on its own. Build it all on a foundation of an academic background, a doctor with confidence to spare, an architect in the same vein, a celebrity singer who'd come in wanting inspiration at the press of a button, run everything in parallel with the ideas of the former two and the experience of the other. But that wasn't enough. He'd been driven, haunted. How was she supposed to put it all together?
Yeah. So she tries to chat for a second with Blasto, but he's just useless and he says bad words. So she puts a lock on him, and then she does some work, and sets him up to be watching the Love Bug theme song, on repeat, and now he can sing and dance along. Isn't that so sweet?
It's like one of those like classic like this is one of the worst things we've ever seen, and it's in the chapter that's supposed to be humanizing her.
It's one of the worst things that, like, the whole Blasto situation.
I have in the
It's so
past
upsetting
I
to
have
me.
just shown people your artwork of like the Blasto the
My
Blasto
Blasto
image.
weed poster.
Yeah, the Blasto weed poster, and like they're just like haunted by it. I'm trying to find it now.
Haunted! Oh
They're
no!
like, oh, because I'll like vaguely describe what's happening, and they're just like, ugh.
Oh my gosh, really? I love that. I love that drawing. I
I
was
also love
thinking,
that drawing,
if
but
we do like a bonus or like a chill episode sometime, we could do a like an interlude art ranking.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'm trying to find
'Cause
that art. Um, ugh. Sorry, the way that the folders, as described in a previous week when we were first having technical issues, the folders have all been revamped on this particular computer I'm working on, and
mm.
I can't make them show large images, just the file names and the tiniest little image. So it'll take me a
Oh
minute to find.
no.
But yeah, I've had many problems on this computer. I was not pleased at the change, but anyway. I'll let you continue your thing while I look for the file.
Okay, well, poor Blasto does some singing and dancing. We like hop forward a few weeks, and Bonesaw is having a tea party with 7-year-old damsel of distress. So it's actually a really cute scene. Um, Damsel is talking about world domination and how milk is for babies, and Bonesaw is like playing along with her. And Damsel starts to sway, and Bonesaw says she did put something in her tea to help her sleep. Whoa, there's Blasto.
Yeah, Blasty.
See,
And somebody else.
you don't need to know what's happening to him.
Yeah, anything could be happening
It's
right
just
now.
it's just an artistic representation.
I was at so I interact with a lot of people who play Warhammer 40K, and I myself now, because of these people, do play Warhammer 40K, and I was looking at one of their models, and I said, does that character have a prehensile spine? And I was disappointed to find that no, they did not. It was just a long rat tail. And I was like, come
Nasty.
on. Why does he even not have the bottom half of a torso if he's not going to have a
Yeah.
prehensile spine?
That's awful.
Anyway.
Okay, well, they're doing their tea party. A damsel starts swaying. She's like spitting insults, while Bonesaw walks her by the hand back into her pod. But so she ultimately goes along with it. And Bonesaw kisses her goodnight. So sweet. So she opens up Mannequin's pod to check on him, and he's not doing quite as well. He like immediately starts talking about his wife and kids, and Bonesaw is like, "Oh, you mean your mom and sisters?" And he's like, "No, my fucking wife and children." And he said he can feel that he's let a lot of people down, and everything feels like it's pressing in on him. And Bonesaw just kind of closes him back into his pod. Um,
We kind of get a lot of
so
hints as to like how the powers and stuff work here, but not enough to like piece it together, which I think is like interesting. They're giving us tons and tons and tons of info, but it's like too
yeah,
hard to parse at this point.
yeah. So it's clear to Bonesaw that she's like implanted the memories in the clones way too early, and that she'll need to scrap this batch. Um, so good. The good thing she did stay awake. Like, what would they just have all came out? The, I
I
I
do
mean
think it would be
they
funny if she
wouldn't
didn't
they
stay
would have
awake, because they would have all been fucked. Like, none of it would have worked.
yeah, none of it would have worked because they would have come out and they would have been. I don't think they would have triggered in the pods. I think they would have started dreaming at some point, but it would have been a lot later, right?
Right, and maybe if they did like get trigger events and stuff, they still would have like formed into like these ultra confused beings. I don't think that the control frame, maybe the control frames were set to automatically apply to them, but like I don't know. They never say that they were, so that doesn't seem realistic. It seems like one of those things where I'm reaching for like how it would work, whereas like
Yeah.
I don't know that they actually had a plan. Just like Jack is actually stupid. Like,
I think Jack's just like, "Oh, do this," and then Bonesaw's like, "Okay," and then she just like had to. She like was like, "Obviously, I need to stay up." I mean, she stays up for other reasons, but she did need to stay up.
yeah, like the idea that they could have like just developed on their own, it just wouldn't have worked. And like when she has to
Yeah,
lie to
there's always
Jack
things
later,
to
it's
adjust.
it's
And
just
also it's fucking Tinker equipment,
yeah,
which needs maintenance.
yeah. I don't think that it would have
Yeah.
just worked because like we can say all the time that like, oh well, her spiders da 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 da, but they can't get fed Tinker information from her brain. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, it's clear to her she put the memories in too early. So the passengers like attach themselves early, like immediately, and then triggered and had been affecting the clones too much. So she'll have to match her introduction of memories like to their age, like do them in chronological order,
How
and do more
tedious.
research. Yeah, and do more research on like their early childhood development and stuff. So, Bonesaw boils the batch of clones in their pods, and then she puts on a disguise to for a run to Earth. Bet, oh my gosh, back on Earth.
Back to the bets.
Uh, Yeah, so she goes into this grocery store and she's greeted by this man in his early 30s, and he's like looking at her while she's shopping, and she's like getting anxious that he is recognizing her as Bonesaw. And then she's like, "Oh wait, he's just a pedophile." And she relaxes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So none of this is said explicitly. This chapter is absolutely batshit.
Yeah. I feel like
Um,
Wildbow does a lot without saying stuff explicitly. Like, as crazy as it is, I feel like the Noel stuff all works a little better because he never has to name that there's an eating disorder, and is
mhm,
like even from the perspective of a character who's like fooling themselves that there's nothing wrong, and like all these
mhm.
things, and like this also, it's just like they say it without saying it from Bonesaw's perspective, and she's such a
Uh-huh.
freak that she's just like, this is normal. I hang out with people who are worse than this guy literally every day.
It's like she's right. It's weird because it's like she's right and she's all like this guy is also I think that she's also comfortable with him because he is what she calls a monster, like what she's used to. So, but that he's like a safer version of what she's used to as well.
If this guy was
Um,
just a regular convenience store guy and he wasn't
she wouldn't
like
have
terrible,
him.
she would have probably killed him, like executed him somehow.
Yeah.
She's like, you can't just be a normal convenience store guy. That's unacceptable.
Yeah, so after the grocery store, she heads to the library. But Contessa steps out from a nearby building, and Bonesaw does not know who this is, but she does assume that she's like a cape, because of how confrontational she seems. And Contessa says, but she's only here to ask for a favor. Lucky for Bonesaw. I have a quote here.
The Slaughterhouse 9 you're mass producing, you're going to install a control switch. You'll give that switch to me. Not soon, but later. Later than you think. Bonesaw laughed, high and shrill. Then she laughed some more. The woman only waited patiently. Silly! You couldn't be more wrong, Bonesaw said. Betray Jack! Betray the others! You will.
Whoa. So Contessa's like, I have two things to say to you, but then she actually had more than two things. She says breadth and depth, and then she also says say goodbye, and she leaves before Bonesaw can attack her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this is probably partly to the fault of what Contessa said, because Bonesaw starts dreaming of her trigger event most nights, which I will barely go over. This is also just like one of the worst things we've seen.
It's a
Um,
classic Wildbow moment where you're like, wow, Wildbow. All right, man. Kind of fucked up inside.
but basically the Slaughterhouse Nine, they were like, I guess they like broke into the family home and were attacking the family, and
But they were like
Bonesaw
slowly,
triggered.
they were torturing them all to death in different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, they were all torturing them to death in different ways, and Bonesaw triggered, and she's only 6 years old at this point. And so then it like becomes a game for them where she like runs into one room, and the person who's in there has been like torturing them, and then she like repairs them as best as she can, and then she runs into the next room, and when she leaves, like they're gonna start torturing them again. Um, so we're like at the end of this where she is just exhausted and she lays on the ground by Jack and her mom, as her mom dies, and the last words that she mouths are "be a good girl," which Riley takes to heart. And then she wakes up from her bad dreams and she reaches Blasto. But unfortunately, Blasto died last week.
He's. It
Um,
says, I love your note here. He died a week ago and isn't a great snuggler.
well, that's what she said. She was like, "Well, Blasto wasn't even good at snuggling at the best of times, and he died last week."
Yeah, yeah.
So she heads out and approaches the pods. She's kind of admiring her new batch, but she still hasn't made any Bonesaw clones. That's weird. I have a
I'm
quote here.
feeling weird about myself as Bonesaw and not making Bonesaw clones. I don't know why I'm not doing this. Um,
Or maybe she's like, I'm just so horrible. There cannot be, there could not possibly be 9 Bonesaws.
I do
It would
remember
be,
thinking in the original Slaughterhouse 9 arc, like, as much as we've got to kill Jack, killing Bonesaw seems like a big deal because then you can, like, whittle away at them and she's able to, like, heal them, and that's, like, one of the
yeah,
major problems.
yeah, the major problem is that they can torture people so effectively and that they can, like, keep people alive even if they try to die.
Yeah, yeah, and like a lot of that would be alleviated if they could have just eliminated Bonesaw. That would have been like huge. But the fact that they killed in like the very next major conflict, the fact that they killed Siberian,
Siberian and Mannequin.
that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, very
Um.
good.
Anyway, so the quote is, she'd set herself the task of having everything ready for when Jack and the others woke up, and now she felt she was unraveling, coming apart in the quiet and the solitude. She stared at the seeds of the bone saws that hadn't grown and wondered if she really could look long enough to see the real her, to fabricate anything like herself.
Yeah, so Bonesaw goes back to the grocery store and she's like clearly been like stopping by often. And she's flirting with the pedophile manager Eli. And Eli does it, to be fair to Eli does exactly one bad thing. Which is invite Bonesaw over to his house. Um this mother comes in to put up a missing sign poster for her daughter, and she tells Bonesaw to go home, go just to your parents. And
It
this is
feels
when Eli
like
tries.
it feels like the mom is like, "Oh no, I know that Eli's a pedophile. Go home."
Yeah, like she like comes in and Eli's like nervous, and then she's like, "Can I put this sign up?" And then he looks at the sign, and then he's like nervous, and then it's like, "Oh no, did Eli kill this kid?" I think that's what you're supposed to think is like Eli's being so weird, and then it turns out that Riley had kidnapped her.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so Eli then tries to invite Riley over for which she immediately declines. She gets kind of like mad. And he's like, "Oh yeah, because your parents are so strict." And she's like, "Yeah, Eli. Oh, God." And so she goes and grabs some more cereal and heads back to her pocket dimension. Um, so Riley's feeling some unease about that woman's daughter, because she had kidnapped her in order to make and harvest these like I guess she didn't have child soldier memories, so she was going to take soldier memories and then put them in a child and then take those and put them into winter, right?
Right, I think that that's the idea. Also,
That's
I
the
think that
plan.
she wanted more organs for like her literal own body.
Yeah. And then I have a quote here.
So we got, she couldn't think of her mother's face, only stitches. Yet when she tried to visualize herself going ahead with it, it was Eli's face that intruded, disappointed, confused.
Oh no, she's got a conscience.
Oh
So
no!
Bonesaw's like getting fucking frustrated with this. She's like arguing with herself on like what she should do with this girl, and she tries to distract herself by thinking about the breadth and depth statement from Contessa. So this is so interesting because this is so far from like breadth and depth are not fucking words that I would have gotten from this situation. But they're words that Bonesaw thinks of, and Bonesaw always thinks of weird words. Like calling the agents passengers is like also a strange thing.
I don't know
um
why, but I find that passenger terminology a lot more natural than agent. Like, I
the
understand that it's like the
agent
agent
doesn't
of
mean
control of the
anything.
power, but like
Yeah.
the passenger, like it makes sense to me because it's like
It's like it's
the
hitched onto you.
yeah, like it latches onto you, and you do have your trigger event or whatever, but it can be a passenger on you even if you never manifest powers and you're always a latent parahuman.
Yeah, that's true. Um so she she thinks about her first batch, and this is the breadth, basically, of theory that the connection with the passenger, it had been established so early that it became overly broad and was eating up too much of their personalities. And then with Jack, he has the depth, so he has this connection where he's align deeply with his passenger, where the decisions that he's making are like aiding the passenger and the passenger's helping him or whatever, right?
Right, right.
And
He's like extremely in line with the passenger in some way.
yeah, so there's like this small amount of separation between him and his passenger, but he still retains himself. And so when Bonesaw looks at herself, she's like, "Oh my God, I triggered when I was 6 years old, and I've been aligning myself with my passenger," which begs the question, like, how much of her is actually her? And she turns back to the girl she kidnapped, Melanie, and I pulled a quote here.
Hmm. Maybe the family thing was the passengers. Maybe the art was too. But Eli? It wasn't perfect. It wasn't normal. But if the passenger had never made contact, and she'd still lived a life a little like the one she'd lived now, she could see herself being Eli's friend.
Yeah.
Great.
So she's so goofy. So near the time, it's nearing the time when she needs to wake up Jack. So it's almost been 2 years, and Bonesaw has had quite some time to think alone. And she thinks through every decision on whether she's acting as Bonesaw or Riley. And so she does some prep for her surgery to undo the last 2 years of aging because she's pretending that she was in cryogenic sleep. Uh, and then she stops by Eli's store to say goodbye to him, and she gives him a letter to open on an exec date, which I guess just so happens to be his birthday. I don't know. It didn't say when it was.
Yeah. Well,
And he,
I think it's supposed to be that it's just long enough after the like next events of the book that like he would read it and like not in any way be compelled to be like I've got to stop this and then get auto killed.
yeah. Um, so he gives her a horror about a child werewolf, which Riley thinks is ironic. Riley's sense of humor is like so bad because she's 12.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
she's
was
also like hugely emotionally stunted.
yeah, I was thinking how like because this is written by a Canadian, like the first thing that came to mind instantly is like, is he referencing Ginger Snaps? Is is Eli giving her the movie Ginger Snaps? Anyway,
I have a quote here.
um, you look different, he blurted out, a non sequitur. She'd hoped the winter clothes would hide any of the reversions she'd made. You look good, he added. Be fucking good, Eli, she retorted, staring at him. Before, he might have protested, feigned confusion. He'd changed, much as she had. Now, he only nodded a little. I will.
So, back in her pocket dimension, Riley's end of world timer goes off. And she taps her pinky and thumb together twice. This activates her like bone saw body language. So she has like the same type of thing she set up for Blasto to help him move.
Yeah, she has an auto control over her own body to make sure that she hasn't developed new
She's
body language.
Yeah, and well, because I think she's lost her like her little idiosyncrasies as well, like her pep and her step.
Well, there's that for
Um,
sure, but she does have to retrain her body to be smaller because she was growing and she ungrew herself.
yeah. So she kind of knows that she has like this concept that things are gonna continue on with the nine, or at least not forever. So the pods containing the current Slaughterhouse Nine members open up, and Riley can tell that Jack immediately knows she was not in stasis. Um, and he starts kind of poking and prodding to try to get her to slip up, before he notices he's like all uncoordinated and sloppy still. And Riley says that there's going to be a month or two recovery phase, and Jack like kind of seems he doesn't say anything crazy. He's very much like, I don't know, that type of person where you can like feel the anger coming from them rather than it being in their words.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, he's like a real douche.
yeah, he's just terrible. So they move on to wake up the clones. And I have a quote here.
You didn't do yours. Didn't work out. I see. Every line of dialogue felt like a nail in the coffin.
Yeah. But Riley's like, that's not a concern right now because Jack needs her, at least for now. So she thinks about her other contingencies, like how she made this shut-off remote for Contessa to come pick up, and also the letter that she left for Eli that contains her true identity and a plane ticket, for him to skip town and not get Slaughterhouse 9'd. And so the clones are kind of rousing, and there's 9 of each of the members except for Bonesaw, Jack, and Grey Boy, which Jack does not comment on the fact that there's only one of him. But there was supposed to be Jack clones originally.
I was a little confused. I thought Jack intentionally didn't want clones of himself.
Yeah, I mean, in the previous chapter where we saw
they had like pods.
we saw a row of Jacks. Not a row of Jacks, but a row of Jack pods, yeah. And Bonesaw, there was also a row. And Grey Boy, there was also a row. Previous chapter.
I think maybe I'm wrong on this, but it feels like one of those, Wildbow just kind of decided that it would be slightly different. You know?
Yeah, I think so.
Because it's
like Riley changed her mind and that's it.
Well, it's like Riley changed her mind, but it feels like even post facto, Jack isn't surprised there are no other Jacks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
It would be weird. But can you imagine how fucking it would be so disastrous if there were 9 Rileys?
That would be a disaster. I was just thinking you were going to say it would be so annoying if there were 9 Jacks. I just find him to be one of the most like top tier, like eyes rolling at this prick kind of like guys, where I'm just like, ugh, this fucking idiot.
Yeah. Well, that's basically it. Grey Boy is like, it's like alluding that he's very scary, and Riley is very scared of him, but we don't really know what his deal is yet. So
Grey Boy is like smiling, and he's like, you know how you're a child everyone's afraid of? Well, even you're afraid of me.
Yeah.
Also, he has a little Mickey Mouse voice, clearly. I think every villain is scarier if you give them Mickey Mouse voice. So, you know.
That's true.
Do you have final chapter thoughts? This chapter's a doozy.
This chapter's crazy.
Yeah.
I also like read this top Wildbow comment. And he said, thanks to everyone who gave feedback last chapter. It took a bit to bite the leather strap and take it, but I need a dose of reality now and again. Double the thanks he chose to read on, winky face. And then the reaction of this chapter was resoundingly positive.
Yeah, take everything negative I said about the last chapter and reverse it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, guys.
People
like,
were
finally, you
crazy on the last chapter. They hated it. And it's like, this is an equally sized time skip. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. But all she's doing is sitting in a little university Fruity Loops or whatever.
Yeah.
Fruity Loopies. And flirting with the shop boy. Oh my god. Yeah, it's just like such a like being in Bonesaw's mind is like she's got a different way of talking about things. Like the way she talks about powers and I guess like science and stuff is like I'd have to read it like a couple times to like unravel what the fuck she was trying to get at. And the concepts weren't like incredibly complicated.
Yeah.
She just like thinks in a really different way than I guess than Taylor thinks. Taylor is like incredibly uh I don't know. She over explains, I guess.
Hmm.
Um like when she's making decisions and thinking about stuff, she usually explains and explains and explains like all of her justifications to herself.
Well, I think a
Um,
lot of Taylor is like she's already made the decision and now she needs to justify it, but she doesn't just need to
yeah,
justify it to the audience. She needs to justify it to herself, which is why she's thinking it
yeah,
in the first place.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I love that.
And Bonesaw is in a very different place here, where she's going along. She's still going along with their plan, but
Hmm.
she's like internally slowly changing her like perspective in her mind about everything.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. It's a good chapter. I don't think that like Bonesaw j- fucking like I don't know. This is like what did you say, a redemption arc? I feel like this isn't like a redemption arc. Like she's just like you're making up for a little bit. A very small amount of the horrible damage you've caused.
I suppose. I suppose. It's part of
Yeah.
like a.
It's definitely
I,
the start of her redemption arc though.
I would say it's the start of her redemption arc, and it's also like one of the most enduring storylines in Parahumans
Hmm.
is the Riley storyline. Like it
Yeah.
uh you have yet to reach the end of it in your own readings, so
Yeah, I figured. I'm
yeah.
like, oh, that bitch is still here. I don't hate Riley. Like, I think she's, I don't know, man. I do think she should die, though.
Probably.
Yeah,
Um
yeah.
I'm trying to as an update for the long-term audience, you have dipped your toes into arc 15 of Ward.
Hmm.
Them
I have.
toes, them feets, they be dipping. Um,
Hmm.
has anything particularly horrible happened yet?
No, not
Okay,
really.
good.
They're just like flying around fighting the teacher zombies.
Okay, good, good. Don't worry, nothing bad happens.
Okay, good. I'm very glad.
um. Anyway, I'm very excited for you to finish Ward. As the long term audience knows, anyone who's bothering to listen at this point, I love Ward. I think it's even better than
Yeah.
Worm. But yeah, I guess chapter wise, I don't have that much more to say before we hop into the other like segments.
Sure.
For arc stuff, I'd say this is like a perfect interlude to cap off. Like the arc covers like 2 years or so in time and has all these time skips. The interlude covers the same time period and has like similarly sized time skips, and
Hmm.
I think it's a good reflection. Um, and it's like we kind of talked about when you were chatting in the other chapters, that um, this arc to me, like while I could definitely like read, I would read the stories that are intervening. Like it's getting to the heart of the matter. Like it's skipping past the types of stories we've already heard. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
We like the story would have been like in stasis. Oh my God, just like Bonesaw.
Ho ho ho!
Just like Jack was in stasis. Yeah, like there's nothing changing. They're just like everyone's like grinding and like getting ready for this thing and
Yeah, it'd
fighting
be like
fires
Taylor
with
sets up
the
another perfect
Endbringers.
ambush. Taylor ambushes them with the wards. It's like,
Yeah, like we don't need to see that times 10.
yeah,
Times 20, times 30. Yeah. So, yeah, now I think now it's like we just needed that time to like they get to like train up and focus on the Endbringers, and then the story starts up again at the end of the time 2 year timer.
yeah. I think maybe this chapter, like Wildbow already knew what he wanted to do with the Slaughterhouse Nine, but like the fans had been so disappointed in the previous chapter that like this was almost a like, wait guys, trust me, you gotta trust me.
He's like, this is like a treat for everybody. I'm sure people have been like begging for a Bonesaw interlude, you know?
Probably.
Yeah,
Um,
like what is wrong with this bitch?
yeah.
Why did she end up like this? Yeah.
Well, because she seems at first blush like one of the least realistic characters, and like despite how
Yeah, and she's
crazy
like
everything is,
playing a
I think
character
it's
in
like
the
kind of like it doesn't stretch my imagination. I'm not like in any way pressed by the psychology of Bonesaw. So like that's
yeah.
he threaded the needle again.
Yeah. And he also like anything that seems unrealistic is like explained in this chapter by being like this it's because she's been eaten by her passenger basically.
And like he's been trying to allude to these ideas since arc 3. Like
Hmm.
that when they first talk about Vista having her powers and having gotten them early, like this idea has
Hmm.
been
Yeah,
injected.
they're like she's more aligned because she got them younger or whatever, and so she has better powers.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that works not only about this like length of a story, but the way that Wildbow like does information is that he's like you know, it's the breadcrumb method, whatever. Like I'm sure that there's I remember there's like a actual name for it, but it's like he's
Hmm.
just putting a bunch of stuff out there that is good world building, and he's maybe gonna pick up on some of the threads later.
Yeah.
So um also for Scarab, you know, famously, the Scarab in Egypt is the god who pulls the sun across the sky, is, you know, represents the passage of time, etc. So, perfect
Mhm.
fit for the time skip.
Nice.
Are we ready
Yeah,
to talk
people
about the
came in and
characters?
complained. Yeah, we can talk about the characters. Do you want to talk about the Slaughterhouse Nine, all the clones that
In
are
general.
vaguely introduced?
Yes,
Yeah.
I love the clone of Mannequin of Sphere when he's like a little boy and he's stacking like Erlenmeyer flasks to be like, get away! I must seal myself away. Also, I'm British. I don't know if he's British, but I imagine him being played by the same child actor who played Child Picard in the 90s. Um, uh, and being very, I don't know, diminutive and unimpressive, but also stacking things. Um, so I really like these scenes where we get to see the side people. I know that the fans really latched on to Damsel of Distress because of this, and uh, I, I
Yeah,
I don't think
I love Damsel.
I think that I was a little less impressed by her outing in this chapter. But I
I mean,
do.
no, she's so annoying when she's full like when she's full damsel of distress, you know
Yeah,
what I
she's a
mean?
lot less annoying when she's child damsel, honestly. But when she's full damsel,
Yeah,
sometimes
'cause
I'm
it's
like,
cute.
could I roll my eyes any harder right now?
Yeah, exactly. Like I I can't stand her when she's like in a bad space.
Yeah. Well, it just
But
gets
when
like,
she's like doing good and is like acting more like a normal human, like I love her.
yeah. But yeah, she's got a lot of low moments.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so sad because we see this little baby clone, and then we see a little clone of Alan Richter, which is mannequin, and he's like terrified, and he like set a trap within his own pod so that people couldn't get into it, and like then she boils them to death, and you're like, oh my god. These
Yeah,
poor children.
and I mean,
At least they were asleep and probably fast.
as much as the medium spoilers as we normally have, like, we kind of learn in this that the people start getting like fed with their original memories anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's for powers, knowledge, and world building.
Okay. I'll save it, but I was gonna say, like, that doesn't just go one way. Like, they don't not remember the things that are happening now.
Yeah.
Oh no, I forgot to mute my stupid notifications. I feel like a fool.
This is all Greg's fault.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Greg. But in a good way. I appreciate the audience participation. Let's see here. So characters, Slaughterhouse-9, others. We really only see a couple of them. She talks about Winter's backstory and like, oh, I've got to do all this. I got to do the most to fill in Winter's backstory because it's not working the way I was doing it.
She can't handle. She thinks about it the entire time. How am I gonna pull off Winter's backstory?
She kind of like makes me think of like, oh no, I said I could do this giant school project because I thought that it would raise my grade, but it turns out I only really have the energy to do the normal size school project, but I already committed. Oh, fuck. That's what it feels like, her whole thing.
Yeah. She also, just to be clear, she did still do the child soldier thing to that little girl.
Yeah. Yeah, she's like, listen, I need to psychologically torture you to death. Yeah.
And then because she says that she like looks in Winter's eyes, and then she's like, it's Madison's eyes or whatever.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, so we get to like see a bunch of people at the end. You see we see Siberians, the Chuckles, which she gave them zigzag arms, which is fucked up. I feel like this was like a fucked up thing that she did to Chuckles on purpose. Cause she's like nostalgic in a way. Chuckles had been around when she joined, so he had been one of the people who had been like attacking her family or whatever. Do you think she did it because she like a little bit of payback?
Maybe.
Zigzag arms is crazy. 31 elbows and arms that dragged behind them as they moved. Here and there, one would twitch, a tick. The clown makeup was a series of scars tattooed on. So I think he just had normal clown makeup before, did he?
I don't know for sure, but I will say that, like, this generally does just sound like the exact kind of weird, fucked up thing that Jack would want. He'd be like, this is the greatest. I love this fucked up clown. I love anything that's fucked up.
This is like definitely normal Bonesaw behavior, but it doesn't seem like she did anybody else this dirty. Murder Rat, not stable together as the original had been. She'd taken the time to do it well. When membership had been down, Bonesaw had made Murder Rat as a created addition to the Slaughterhouse-9. She passed the test but degraded in mental and physical faculties over time and had seen her to demotion. And then there's Winter, with Madeline's eyes, Crimson, Winter's brief-lived lover. Let's see. And then all the cherishes that I guess they're like talking about how their hair. King. And then Great Boy. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they don't talk about a lot of them because, like, we're gonna see in subsequent chapters they, like, have all the cherishes, they have, like, all the Shatterbirds, all these specific people. And sometimes there's like a thing that Taylor thinks to herself after they kill a bunch of like similar guys in one area where Taylor's like, were they stationed like this because Jack was bored by this group and like wanted them to get wiped out? And I think the answer is yes. I think Jack finds some of the powers specifically more boring than other ones.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. You want to talk about Jack?
Jack is
pissed.
Yeah, he's all like, "Oh, this is great," and he's smiling, but he's really angry.
Yeah.
Jack's like such a dumb piece of shit. I just like can't objectively think about him because I just think he's such a fuck. I think he's a great villain. I'll tell you that. But you should talk about it more.
Yeah, I mean, he's like a real, like, abusive shithead. Like, this, he's like acting how these kinds of people will act when they're, like, in public or whatever, where he's like, great, yeah, so why weren't you, why do you have Fruit Loops?
Yeah, there's a lot of candy wrappers around here. As though a little girl was eating candy for a whole 2 years and didn't put away any of the wrappers.
Yeah, Riley can tell that this is like going to be future punishment, like it's something he's gonna take this out on her or whatever. And then he's also upset because he's not ready exactly on time, because they have to physically recover for a couple months. Which is answer to the riddle, why is Jack late? It was all Bonesaw's fault.
I'm not sure how long the recovery took, but I don't actually think it takes that long. I think they still might go out like same day or next day.
He probably pushed it forward, and then Riley probably did a bunch of stuff to help everybody.
Right, yeah.
He was like, we need to go out in 3 days or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Jack sucks, but Riley's done with him, so that's cool. I mean, she's not done with him, but she's like emotionally moved on.
Well, she's emotionally moved on, but we'll see in the upcoming chapters. She will, in a very literal, like moment-to-moment sense, be helping him directly for like the next while. She's still like a huge piece of shit. Like the whole part of Contessa's plan was to make Bonesaw flip after all the things were created, so they could possibly use the creations, like all the clones. But like, I think it was a fool's gambit because they probably didn't get that much out of it, and they do lose a bunch of hero capes who like question mark whether they could help. But the whole situation that they're like prepping for in Cauldron is a situation that Contessa can't see. So she's just like, well, I'm just assuming that having a bunch of like these fucks is better than having Jouster or whatever.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like it's crazy that they did not stop the situation. But
yeah, because if she had like just killed Bonesaw, then like the pocket dimension doesn't wake up. Like the things don't get fed. The things don't like advance in their like aging correctly. Everything falls apart.
Yeah, they'll die. They'll get collapsed in on or whatever.
But the problem is that would change the timeline, and they actually do want the world to end at the right moment.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, what do we have to say about Eli?
Eli. He's a classic. He's a classic piece of shit Wildbow character where it's like they've got a major thing wrong with them, but they are in other ways slightly charming. And I mean, holy shit! Bonesaw's wilding out. Bonesaw's like,
she's like,
I like this guy because he's in love with me. She never says
She
that,
like
but
that's why yeah, she like wants to hang out with him because like kind of in
she's
and
like,
it's like
Eli's
that's
my
all.
boyfriend.
Yeah, I mean she is like 12.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're 12 you like don't take that shit seriously enough. But I don't know. There's like so many ways in which she like her brain is like a 12-year-old's and then there's like she's also like a 6-year-old and also she's like obviously like I don't know, like all the evil stuff. No, no real 6-year-old, 12-year-old could have the amount of evil in Bota's brain that she has.
She's Pandora's box of evil. She's got all the evil in the world, but also hope.
Yeah, yeah. Eli likes scary movies about about monsters and monster children, and I do think that it will be really, really, really fun when he finds out that this little girl that he'd been talking to for like 2 years was actually from the Slaughterhouse 9. He was the monster girl the whole time. Like, that's gonna blow his fucking mind.
I can't even believe it. I was in love with Ginger Snaps. I mean,
I was in
Bonesaw.
love with Ginger Snaps the whole time. Um, yeah, I don't know. What else to say about Eli? He at the end of the chapter, well, hopefully Riley is to be trusted. She does seem to have like good intuition, on people. But she thinks to herself that Eli is agreeing that he's gonna be good and he's not gonna do any crime against children. So I appreciate that. I don't think that it was anything Bonesaw did that made him change over the course of time because it seems like he didn't even see her for like a year.
It's unclear to me the exact timeline. I didn't like date for date it, but I don't know. It's like the scene that he tries to sort of invite her back is the last scene they
Yeah,
have together, which is what makes me
yeah.
think like I don't know, shrug. It doesn't seem like he's back. Like as much as she tells him to like be good, it's like he's in the
Like be
process
good,
of being the
Eli.
worst. Like yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean like he was like he invited her back and then I think that's when there was a big break between her seeing him and then he was like nervous that she was mad at him or whatever. And then she was like, "But he's changed." And it's like, but the last time you saw him."
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So, okay, what do we say? Well, let's talk about Bonesaw Riley.
yeah, yeah.
Bonesaw,
Um,
Bonesaw, Bonesaw. Bonesaw had a horrible, horrible trigger event. Um,
yes.
uh,
I need you to
she,
vamp and say things about Bonesaw while I run to the restroom. That's what needs to happen.
okay, okay.
Bye.
So she had a horrible, horrible trigger event. The she like basically got too tired to handle dealing with the situation anymore and her mom dies and she says be good and then she's like immediately she like turns to Jack as her new like parent and her new North Star of how to be good. Which come on. But I know it's like a it's like a trauma bonding thing. So it's like a survival technique, obviously. She wouldn't have survived if she hadn't done that. But that's what like kind of starts her tirade of the way that she is. Um let's see. Swearing is so crass. Um, I think that like Bonesaw during this chapter comes to the like conclusion that the family thing might have been the passengers or whatever, but that doesn't seem
I have
real to
returned.
me because okay, welcome back. I was just saying that like Riley's like the family thing, that's the passengers. But like is it? I mean, it seems to be something that the passenger clinged onto in the moment, like of the trigger, maybe. And then it like consumed her or she was like rewarded or whatever whenever she engaged with the whole family concept. But
I got the
I don't
impression it
know.
was just like a split second like defense mechanism that because it worked got reinforced over and over again, and like
Right.
Jack leaned
Right.
into it as much as he could because he's like, oh, how fucked up would it be if I had like someone who thought they were my daughter and then they killed everyone for me? Wouldn't that be fucked up?
Yeah. Wouldn't that be crazy? Yeah, but like Bonesaw is like, what if the family thing that came from the passenger or whatever? And like, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
but also you did that. You were kind of the one who set up that whole thing.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, as many bad things as happened to Riley, I just like even later on at like the end of her arc, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know about this one.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like, so that's what I was gonna say. It's like I think that her trigger event and the power that she got, like both contributed to her having to have developed a lack of empathy, when her passenger attached, basically. So like I do think that like Bonesaw and Riley are like fundamentally missing those things, and that it's because of the power. Because right when it happened, she's like my mom became a machine in her eyes when she started dying or when she started suffering. Then she became a machine and she just became breaking down. And then ever since then, that's how humans are, or organic material is to her. Is it looks like tools in her mind, and she has to she has to kind of associate uh associate her morality with other people's reactions.
Yeah, she doesn't have like a big internal compass of any kind. I feel
Yeah,
like we should
yeah.
put
So
Contessa on this list.
Contessa was there. She was like breadth and depth. It's so stupid.
I thought it was great. I
I just think it's dumb because it's just like that's not the way that I would describe this concept at all, but okay. But
but
she knew
she's
it would
not
work
describing it
for
to
Riley.
you. She's describing it for
I know, she's
Riley.
describing it to Riley.
Yeah. Um
She should have been like, what if she went up to Riley and she was like, Riley, you had an early trigger event, so you're all fucked up. Like she could have been more direct.
Yo, dog, you're all fucked up in the head.
Errol messed up, but I guess she had to come to that conclusion on her own.
She had to get hit by the mind whammy.
Yeah. What else do you have to say about Bonesaw?
Um, mm, Still actively working toward redemption in my.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
She'll live the rest of her life as a servant of the people.
she's gonna
to
have
make
to.
up for a to make up for a fraction of the crimes that she's committed.
Because even when other people
And
are
that's
okay
like
with her later, it's like, well, remember that time that she turned Gru into the fridge? Like, that was like her life.
oh my god, when she when she's like giving herself the mastectomy and making herself shorter and stuff, and she's like, I'm gonna do it without any painkillers, and it's like, Bonesaw, you perform surgery on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people without any painkillers. Have you been giving these guys anesthetic? And she is like this isn't like making up for it. It is retribution in some way, which is true. So that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm normally against self-flagellation, but I'll allow it.
Yeah. In this case, Bones maybe you should be punished. Yeah. Okay, do you want to talk about all the powers, knowledge, and world building?
Yeah. Clones
Okay.
and
Clones
stones.
powers. Clones powers. Okay, so basically the clones, the agents like can are latching on to like basically like a DNA thumbprint of each person. And so the way that the clones work, I guess, is that the clones have the same DNA and the passenger doesn't exactly think like, oh, but we already have our connection established. It just establishes connection, right? And then we're learning that although Riley implanted memories into people's minds, that was just like the foundational element. And then once they started having dreams and there were like similar concepts and stuff in them, then the passenger was connecting the dots and like filling in the blanks of their memories,
Yeah, it
right?
was literally putting in the actual memories from the real versions.
Yeah, it's like there was like a Mad Libs version and then it like swaps everything
Yeah.
back in.
And it's a problem because it's not fully overwriting the other memories that are like being implanted. So they have both the implanted memories and the memories from the original person who was connected to the passenger. Uh,
Yep.
so
Yeah.
problems
And then
arise.
yeah, and then we explicitly learned that when the powers are attaching to someone who is less developed or whatever, then it will kind of their minds are more pliable when they're younger, and so the younger they trigger, then the more it can kind of like eat away at their personalities and stuff.
It's like a trade-off though,
And
because it's also like it integrates more directly with them. So like that inference that people have that younger capes are more powerful is
mhm,
mostly true because it's like
yeah,
they're having a more raw form of the power that probably has less like it seems like the limiters that get put on, like there's ones from the powers themselves, but there's also like the personal mental blocks, so they have less personal
right,
mental blocks. So yeah, anyway.
yeah.
um
um yeah, so that was the breadth. And then the depth I feel like have already been like more familiar with, which is that when you align yourself with your passenger, then the passenger will like feed you better.
yeah, and I guess I feel like that's explored a lot more in Ward, because in Worm we're usually seeing from Taylor's perspective, and it kind of she's so like she's like 80% in tune with her power if Jack's 100% in tune with his. So she's like really,
Hmm.
really aligned with her power compared to a normal person. And
Yeah.
so we're always seeing from the perspective of someone who's like getting those little like background boons and such.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's hard to see as a pattern initially, I would say.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah. Yeah. What else? Do you have anything to say about Cauldron or anything?
I think in line with the theme of the overall like work and like things that get stated in like epilogue chapters, basically all these things that they did, they weren't all necessary. And this is,
Yeah.
to me, like a really obvious example of like as far as like strength of like powers left over and strength of like who's going to pick up the pieces if everybody lives after like the end of the world scenario and like all these other things, like letting heroes die to let these like tortured clones be created and kill a bunch of them, like
It's crazy.
that's
Very
bad
bad decision.
calculus. You're doing the math wrong. They
Oh
don't
yeah.
even have like powerful enough powers to justify, because like when shit hits the fan in, you know, the chapters when everybody's woken up and the heroes fight it out with all these clones, I would say a large number of the really good ones in the end of the world scenario are allowed to be killed off all at once. So, like,
Yeah.
they're not even, like, preserving the troops for the future in a super
Yeah.
effective way. I don't know.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mistakes are
It's all just
made.
dumb.
Because, like,
It's all just dumb.
because they
They're
know
really
that they
going for
can't
just like,
read the end scenario, so they can't be sure of things, and they just
mhm.
gamble on the idea that some of these known quantity powers will be better, possibly, than all these better people they're killing. It's ridiculous.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah. And, like, you can't rely on this idea that, like, well, the truly strong who would be useful in the end are going to survive anyway. Because if you believe that, then you would want to push out the end of the world scenario to a future year. But we already know from stuff Cauldron has said that they think it might be worse if it happens later. So,
Cauldron, yeah, they really are just like flying by the seat of their pants, pretending that they have it all under control.
yeah. I mean, they're making decisions with a power that they know doesn't have the power to predict what will happen in the most critical points.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Oh my god.
Um. So yeah, I would say this is like a. I would say to me this is a critical mistake on the part of the scheming of Cauldron.
Yeah, I agree. I think they should have stopped it from happening or just left them trapped in the parallel universe, the pocket dimension.
Yeah, yeah.
They got doors, right? Can't they have a door that can go into their pocket dimension? Or
Um,
did Bonesaw say she rigged it to collapse?
she might have said that, but also, Contessa was saying like if we took the time, we could break open, like crack open the
Yeah.
dimension doorway. But I think it was at a state where, had the clones just been left as is, they wouldn't have really worked out, and they would have just kind of been like pretty half baked. Because this would have been like,
That was the first batch. I think that Riley scrapped the first batch and that the second batch was the one that she talked to Damsel and the Seven and the Alan. It doesn't say that explicitly, but it like she says that this batch is like is a few weeks, and I think the dates were this was like 2 months in.
yeah. So we've got
July 8th, 2011, and then it goes to September 28th, 2011, and she says that these ones are a few weeks old.
mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's like 2.5 months.
Let's see here. This is Yeah, September 28th, 2011 is when we have the chat. It's like the I'll take over this world little girl. And then yeah, I'm thinking that if I'm skimming this right, that she had just hit the previous batch of clones. She had like executed all the clones she interacted with, and then she went to town. So it would have been between batches even.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think the one that we see her execute, this is already batch 2 that she's killed. Because she said, because after she kills them, she says nearly 3 weeks of down the drain. And
Right.
it's been 2.5 months. So the first batch didn't work out either.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it just, they would have all died.
In fact, it's maybe Contessa is the one with the breadth and depth thing to give her the insights to make the clones work at all. So they're not just going from like not stopping the clones, it's almost like she is the one who is giving the inspiration to make them work whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, Contessa.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Contessa. I guess I keep having like evolving like way that I see this chapter. Like I hadn't thought until just now how like because I always thought about it like Contessa could have stopped her, but I hadn't thought about it until just now that it's like it's not just that, like she maybe couldn't have thought of the ideas without Contessa.
Yeah.
She didn't have the breadth and depth.
She didn't have the breadth and depth to figure it out herself.
Yeah, she needed to be told the words breadth and depth. How ironic? Something.
Yeah. She had the knowledge in her all along. It just needed to be released.
Yeah. The love bug friendship.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Anything else we learn here? Oh, nobody knows what Grey Boy's power does yet, so the comments are hilarious. People are speculating. Let's see here. Also, thoughts on Grey Boy's power? I'm thinking a combination of Contessa and Ignis Fata's reality shifting. Maybe a dash of Point Blank Citrine, too. Oh, man. But yeah, nobody knows. What he does. If Grey Boy is so powerful, and he seems to be, I wonder what killed him. Since Cauldron turned Bonesaw, I wonder if Jack would try to turn Numbers Man in retaliation. I'm sure something is wrong, is going to go horribly with Cauldron's plan. I love internet comments sometimes.
Yeah, I do too.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that's fun that nobody knows. They're like, oh no, everyone's afraid of Grey Boy, but why? It's a good moment.
It's a mystery. I wonder what could be so spooky.
I'm trying to think. Did they reveal it next chapter? I don't think they do. Yeah, they don't next chapter. How long are we hanging here? Anyway, I'm not having a quick resolution to my search, but I was looking at that. I was looking at the next few chapters, and it seems like for several more chapters, nobody nobody interacts with Gray Boy. I know he leaves a victim behind, but I think Taylor just like thinks around it and doesn't explain to her compatriots what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're at 26.5. Gray Boy has yet to make an appearance, says the comments. Still a little confused as to what Gray Boy's power does. Says somebody at 26.6. I think that he gets explained in 26.6. So they're like leaving us tantalized for a while. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leaving the audience on tenterhooks. Well, I don't know what else to say about powers, knowledge, and world building.
I think that's it.
Yeah. The word daddy gets said too many times in this chapter.
It's fine. She's normal about it.
Yeah.
As normal as she can be.
Oh boy. Well, I guess we're on to the audience participation question. So,
Yeah.
It is, have you ever read/watched anything with a redemption arc starting from such a low point as this? So you yourself said, Steven Universe, Diamond's redemption arc, Sweat Droopy.
Yeah. They did a lot. They did like a lot of war crime. And murder and stuff.
Yeah. Greg says Catra
Also,
as well, which is a similar like children's show where the bad guy does lots of war crimes.
I know that oh man, what else? I feel like there's got to be like animes too that this has happened in, but I can't quite think of any.
I agree. I'm not sure I can think of anything off the bat in terms of anime, but I know what you mean, where it's like a character will do a bunch of awful, terrible stuff, and then they'll just be like, "You're on the good guy
They'll be like,
team
just
now,"
kidding.
and then
Yeah,
it's like,
and it's gonna happen more with like with Steven Universe. It's like they're aliens or whatever.
well, the other thing is
So,
like Steven Universe and She-Ra more or less operate on the same energy as like a shoujo fighting anime, like
yeah.
where
Hmm.
they will defeat someone and they will immediately become friends or whatever. Not
Yeah.
everyone that they defeat becomes friends in, for example, that's less likely in She-Ra, but by the end, they're basically like almost exclusively defeating people to make them their friends.
Yeah.
Nanoha style, so like old school animes,
Yeah. The
doing it the
friends were the
most.
enemies we defeated along the way, is what they always say.
Exactly. Like there's even like the main bad guy from most of the first part of She-Ra is called Hordak, and he's like an alien that's like a clone of another alien, and like he gets re-abducted by his own society, and it turns out like he, as far as they go, he's not that bad, and he basically gets like turned to the side of the good guys, and then when they go in to try to rescue him and make him individualized, they accidentally rescue just a different one. So like they're just finding over and over again that like they can turn these guys to their side. So it's just like no matter how directly like clone of the main bad guy, full evil that somebody is, they can be turned to. It's very much a theme of She-Ra. Um,
Yeah, that's so funny.
so yes, Catra. Um, we can say Catra does some heinous shit, but as far as anime villains, which I'm just gonna count Catra among, it's not
Hmm.
it's not as bad as the Diamonds.
Right, yeah. Man, remember when Blue Diamond kidnapped Greg and then put him in her human zoo?
Okay, well I'm counting that as regular. I'm saying that the Diamonds have like a history of like
They
millions
did
of
more
years of
murder.
planet destruction or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, they did like a lot of they like killed like a lot of intelligent species.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking like the
Uh,
scale of their crimes also like has to do with the length of the reign. Like, I would say
Yeah.
that the main villain from She-Ra is quite bad as well. Not on the same scale as them, but he's been like doing a galactic takeover for like 1,000 years. So he's got
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of
Yeah. You can
bad
do
guy
all kinds of
time
horrible
under his
things.
belt, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
They had a lot of thousands of years to be evil.
it's not only is he racking up a normal person's amount of crimes, but he's accruing more power to rack up higher crime combos against
hmm
not necessarily humanity, because there's more, there's a bunch of aliens, but sentient creature manity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I can think of any other ones. I feel like there's gotta be like Homestuck characters, but none of them like did this much like murder and torture.
Yeah.
Like some of them did like a little bit,
Like,
but not nothing crazy.
I would say personally, I do not think Catra's crimes nearly rise to the level of Riley Bonesaw.
Yeah, yeah.
Riley's fucked up. The stuff that she's done has been incredibly, ridiculously fucked up.
Ridiculously fucked up.
It's like seriously like Dr. Mengele stuff on a daily basis. Like, it's like just a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah. And the quickness, the speed at which she does it, and the years. She's been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And it's
that's a
like
long
most of
time
her
to speed
machines,
this up.
it's like, oh, it attaches to your skeleton and puts you in torture level pain for the rest of your life. And if you try and remove it, it like kills you in an even worse way somehow. And
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
just basically everything is torture based.
Yeah.
Yeah, her crimes are quite high in my estimation.
Yeah, it's really bad. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to keep it in mind. I know that there's got to be more animes like this. Like I watched Future Diary. That was a crazy one. There might
Oh,
have been
didn't they
something
redeem the
similar in
bomber
that.
girl like from the first manga
They
chapter?
could have they basically redeemed the main character, like the main girl, which who is like not a good person.
Yeah, didn't yeah, and she murdered all those people
And
just because they talked to the main guy, right?
yeah, yeah. And she like goes back, she like does it like time and time again. Like they don't do that many murders like I guess in current timeline, but they're like, they're like going through different alternate timelines and stuff. And so like overall there's quite a bit.
Well, yeah, like the bomber, in the first like manga chapter, put their school under siege, and like, I mean, it's been a couple years since I read it, but I felt the implication that she killed a bunch of students, like just regular students at his school.
I think so, yeah.
And if she didn't, she was definitely willing to kill everyone there.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
There's so g- I love Future Diary. It's one of those like heinous animes. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
every episode you're just like it's a full sprint ahead.
yeah. I did like the
Uh,
one guy who had his fight diary where he detailed in incredible detail how all of his fistfights go. Um, I mean, he was powered by like the diary or whatever, but
yeah,
still, yeah.
it's pretty
Anyway,
good.
um, I'm trying to think if there's just anything more to address on this question. If there's any, because I feel like there are a lot of characters that start from like incredibly low points that we're supposed to sort of
Yeah, I mean like
see
what's
redeemed. I guess like the Darth Vader thing is like Darth Vader is the lifelong um like main Gestapo guy, and then they blow up a planet on top of everything else, and then uh he kills one guy, and we're supposed to be like, yay.
Wow, Darth Vader. He was a good guy all along.
You took out Sheev. That was the main goal.
Good job.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's funny.
All right. Well, if we have no more to say, then I shall bring up the next question. Yeah. Well, it's not really a question. It is a request. Make up a new Slaughterhouse 9 member to wreak havoc on Killington. Yes, this is an audience request.
Please.
Please!
Submit your Slaughterhouse 9 fan fiction.
Exactly. All right. I'm gonna turn on the music and turn it down a little so that we can ride this episode out. Okay, so the music Crushed was written by ScarlettXOX. I'm gonna maybe ask if there's a different link that wants to be read in the future, but twitch.tv/Scarlett_Rogue is where you can find her old Twitch content. Our Discord server link and the other links can be found in the description. The author of the work being discussed can be found at patreon.com/Wildbow, and the full text can be found at parahumans.wordpress.com. There's also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work at audioworm.rain-online.org. Greg says cheers, and cheers back. Do you have any final thoughts?
Earlier I told my mom I was gonna be streaming today, and she was like, "Oh, is this like, should I come?" I was like, "You don't want to come to this pod." This episode specifically.
There's like a little girl and she did a murder?
Oh my god, and she tortures a lot of people and it's crazy.